Hello, Miss Bell's Algebra 2 class. This is April 22nd, and we're working on the simplifying answers involving radicals, number 2. I have all of them listed here for you, but I'm just going to go through the odd ones. I'll show you the even ones if that helps you out, but I'm only going to talk about the odd ones. So, first thing we got to do is we got to figure out what we can, what we can factor 18, what two numbers we can multiply, one being a number that we can, be a perfect square. That could be a perfect square, so we could take the square root of that number, and for instance, in this one, it's 9 and 2. On your graphing calculators, and mine, the battery went out on it, but you would hit this Y equals button, and then you would do 18 divided by x. You would type in 18 divided by x, and then you hit the table. So you'd hit second and table, and then you could find all of the factors of 18, or you can go online and just look up a factoring calculator online, and type in 18, or you could use the list of the the list of perfect squares. You could look up perfect squares and just start trying some of them, and that's actually what I did when my calculator the batteries went dead. So anyways, this one's 9, and so I'm going to have 3, and that brings a 3 out. Square root of 9 is 3, so it's plus or minus 3 square root of 2. That plus or minus, remember, is because negative 3 times negative 3 also equals 9. So it could be plus or minus 3. So, sorry this is so dim, but my pen ran out of ink. I have a calculator that runs out of power, and I have pens that run out of ink today. So, good thing I have enough energy to go through this. Here we go. It's 15 plus or minus 3 square root of 2 over 6. We have 3 numbers here that we could divide all of these numbers by 3. So 15 divided by 3 is 5, 3 divided by 3 is 1, so I'm just left with, the plus or minus square root of 2. I could put a 1 in there, but I don't need to. And 6 divided by 3 is 2, and so this is simplified. Remember to simplify only if you have 3 numbers there that you can do that with. There's number 2 for you. You could pause that and take a look at it and kind of decipher that. Number 3 came up with 36 times 3. So I was just looking at my list, and I tried, a bunch of different numbers, and I tried 36, and that was the one that I wanted. That was the largest factor that I could use. So 36. Square root of 36 is 6, so it's plus or minus 6. And so I'm left with 12 plus or minus 6 square root of 3, and the 6 is in the denominator still. I can divide all of these numbers, 12, 6, and 6 by 6, and that leaves me with 12 divided by 6 is 2. 6 divided by 6 is 1. I could put a 1 there, but I don't need to. And over 1, any number over 1 is itself, so this is going to be my final answer here. Okay, and this was my final answer up there. There's number 4 if you wanted to look at it. I was working on these with a student in class. Number 5, 98 became 49 times 2. Square root of 49 is 7. So this breaks down to 7 square root of 2, and just bring everything else down. And I could divide the 21, 7, and the 7 by 3. And so I divide it by 7, and I get negative 3, and I get a negative 1 down here. I could have divided by a negative 1 and skipped this step and just went straight to this, but with the student I was working with, we just divided by 7. So I'm left with, finally, in the end, 3 plus or minus square root of 2. Here's 6. A few steps on that one. And this is where we start to where we need to do what's in the square root. So this was 60, and I took out 4 and 15. Square root of 4 is 2, and I'm left with square root of 15 on the inside. I can divide all three numbers by 2, and so I'm left with 3 plus or minus square root of 15 divided by negative 2, because negative 4 divided by 2 is negative 2. And then there's 8. The number 8, you know, I want to talk about number 8 because this ends up being the first one where you get the 2 answers, because the square root of 6, all of this equals 64. So the square root of 64 is plus or minus 8. So I have a couple problems here. It's plus or minus 8, so I solve it when it's plus 8, and you get negative 1. And I solve it when it's minus 8, and you get negative 9. So you get negative 1 and negative 9. Number 9, you know, I take all of this and I got 52, so it's square root of 52. 4 times 13 gives me 52, so square root of 4 is 2, and I'm left with 13 inside the square root. So now I have this 2, and this 6. I could simplify it by dividing everything by 2, so I'm left with 1, and this 1 I don't need because it's 1 multiplied by that, which is just that, so I leave it. And 6 divided by 2 is 3. And here you could take a look at number 10. What I wanted to show you with number 10 is, you know, I started off with 36 and 8, and I was like, well, 8 can be broken down again to 4 and 2, so I brought out a 2, so 6 times 2 gave me 12. I went about it in 2 steps. You could do that if you miss one of them. The actual, you know, the greatest, the factor that I would have needed, that would have been a perfect square, would have been 144. So square root of 144 just takes me right to 12 and square root of 2. So if you miss it and you mess up, that's okay, because if you just keep breaking it down and whatever you bring out, multiply it by what you brought out before, and then, you know, it'll take you right to where you need to be. So with that in mind, I have negative 10 plus or minus 12 square root of 2, then over negative 2. This one I just divided everything by negative 2, and it took me straight to 5 plus or minus 6 square root of 2. Okay, really hope this was helpful, and good luck continuing with these kind of problems.